Hey there, Virgo. Welcome to your reading for the week of March 23rd. You have this progression card. It says Journey on it. You have this Leo card. It says Shine on it. So I think Virgo needs to show their work, which we've been talking about for like a couple months now, at least. And, you always get these cards like Shine, the Leo card that says Shine, or, like the Three of Pentacles has been coming up for you a lot as well. So this is clearly a theme for you, Virgo. Kind of makes sense, too, because this year we do have Jupiter will be entering into Leo, and, that could definitely be a time for you to shine, so to speak, Virgo. And now you have the Six of Wands. The Six of Wands is getting credit for what he has accomplished, for his victory. So, I think a lot of you, it is time to, stand out for the work you do, of course, which we always talk about, time to stand out in the world with the World card for sure, Virgo. You start here with the Page of Wands, the Eight of Cups, and the Lovers. The Page of Wands is about going on adventure. It's kind of like an exciting new start as well, the Page of Wands can represent. So some of you could be working on a fresh start or a new start in your life. I feel like you're embracing like new mysteries basically in your life. He has these pyramids right here. Pyramids in the tarot represent mysteries or going on an adventure that is mysterious in some way. And you also have the Eight of Cups. The Eight of Cups, he is walking away from something that no longer fulfills him, and he has no clue if he's going to find fulfillment or not. He is just telling the universe, I'm not willing to settle. I always say that. I look at the Eight of Cups as a signal that we are sending to the universe. That's like what we are doing with the card. The signal he's sending to the universe is like, I'm not going to settle for less. He knows his value. He knows his worth. He knows what he brings to any situation that he's walking away from. And again, if those two things don't equal the same, right? If this situation could be anything, could be a job, could be a business, could be a relationship, whatever. If they are not equal, then he says, I'm not going to settle, and he tries to find fulfillment. Also makes sense. It's the only card that has an eclipse on it, and we just had that Virgo eclipse on March 3rd. Eclipse energy can last for like 6 months, so, a lot of you could be making these decisions to walk away from things that no longer serve you because of that eclipse energy. And again, the signal is more important than the result with the Eight of Cups because, again, the thing about the Eight of Cups is that it kind of can say that we have been settling for too long. It can say that we have been in a situation that we've been settling for, and when we settle, the universe is like, well, this is all they're asking for is this limiting situation. And so that's what they're going to get, right? And so sometimes we have to walk into the darkness. We have to walk away and not know if we're going to find what we are looking for or not. And, that is kind of like the risk we have to take with the Eight of Cups. But the good news is that this reading is very good. So, I feel that you will find the opportunity. You have the Lovers, and definitely some love in this reading. You have the Two of Cups, Page of Pentacles, definitely could be meeting a new person. Could be a Taurus or a fellow Earth sign. You always get a lot of Earth. You always get fire with me as well. So, it could be like a fire with Earth, Earth with fire. Could be any sign. It's a general reading. But if you're looking for love, definitely a very good time for love. Again, the readings like since February have been full of a ton more love than usual. And so, again, I guess it doesn't really surprise me. We have like a lot of good things going on for love this year. And so, I think if you want it, I would get out there and look for it. The other thing I would say is that the Lovers is traditionally a card of making a choice. And traditionally, of course, it was a choice in love. But I feel in a general reading, it can just be a choice that you are making. We also have the Two of Wands in the world. He has the whole world in his hands on the Two of Wands. He needs to get out into the world to find his opportunities. And you have the Ace of Pentacles here, which is a big opportunity. A ton of Ace of Pentacles energy this week, which I've noticed. And, across the readings I've done so far. I've done almost half the readings. And I don't know, it's just kind of weird that everybody's getting the Ace of Pentacles again, or still, basically, because it's been coming up for like months as well. Definitely something I've noticed. This is not intuitive, what I'm about to say, but, before we get there, before I forget on the Ace of Pentacles, it's like, I wonder if, because the energy has changed so much, we have had all these major planets changing signs, if either there is more opportunity, or, what I really feel kind of is that it's like opportunities have changed. It's like it's like maybe how we receive opportunities is different. So, it's like I'm starting to wonder, again, I don't feel this intuitively. It's just a thought I'm having here, Virgo. I'm wondering if the universe is basically saying, it's like you have to look closer, especially if you're like looking for a new job or looking for love or any opportunity you could possibly imagine. Maybe this is saying like, yeah, the opportunities are out there, but people need to kind of like change where they're looking. And again, we'll see what comes up when we clarify it. With the Page of Wands, you have the Chariot. Yeah, again, everybody gets a Chariot as well. It's kind of funny. Everybody's reading this week has been very different. Yours is just very, very similar to what I would say is the collective vibe right now, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, Virgo, because that could say that you're just very tapped in this week to the collective vibe, right? And so he is charging away from this city, and he's moving in a new direction. Again, everything about the astrology wants us to set ourselves apart. Pluto in Aquarius, Neptune in Aries is very innovative, believe it or not. Uranus moving into Gemini next month is literally set yourself apart, right? It is rebellious energy. We have to stand out for being different. We have to move differently on things that we're trying to accomplish. And that is what the Chariot is about. He is leaving the city behind him behind. And that's where his victory is going to come from, is from setting himself apart. With the Eight of Cups, you have the Eight of Cups. So, and the other thing I would say is the retrograde ends in 2 days. So this is going to be published on the 18th. Today is the 17th, so technically 3 days. And, we also have this new moon in Pisces on the 18th, the day that I'm going to publish this video for you, Virgo. So what I would say is that, all that energy together, I think is asking us to maybe release something or to choose something that we don't want in our life any longer. And I would just make that choice, whatever it is. It could be bad habits, could be a person, could be a job, whatever. But I think it's like a good time, the end of the month here, to release something. With the Lovers, you have the Fool. And so, yes, you could be taking some sort of leap of faith in love. Again, you do have a lot of love here. They are Two of Cups. We have the World, the Page of Pentacles. Sometimes I think the world in love can be kind of like a little bit of a risk. Because, number one, the world can bring you a lot of attention. You're like doing something in the world. So if you're dating a person or if you're getting with a person, it could be very public, right? And so that could be like part of the risk here. This could also say that you are just taking the risk. It's like, if you've been hurt a lot or something like that and you meet a new person, which would be the Page of Pentacles, it's kind of like, taking the risk of looking like a fool. That is the Fool. The Fool says we have to take the risk of looking like a fool. And it seems to me that's what a lot of you are doing. The other thing is that in the Major Arcana, we go from the Fool to the World. And when we end with the World, we start all over again as a Fool. This is the Fool's journey. He goes from the Fool to the World. And so whenever I have the Fool and the World in a reading, or, going in this direction, Fool to the World, to me, it can say that you are completing a cycle very, very quickly, or you're doing something, like a cycle very quickly, like starting something new, or, getting into a relationship or whatever. So it could be like a very quick process. Next, in the area of what's coming in for you, you have this spend time in nature. It says, let the beauty of nature refresh your soul. You have this card that says, choose yourself today. It says, do not deny your importance. Yes, I said that on the Eight of Cups, right? He is leaving something because it does not match the value that he brings to the situation. And so I always say the Eight of Cups is like a little bit scary sometimes because, with the Eight of Cups, what we're walking away from could be providing us with something. There are 8 cups there, but it's missing 1 cup, right? Right here. So, it does provide him with something, but it's like not enough. It's not equal value. And that's what I would be paying attention to with these 2 cards. You have the King of Swords, the Page of Pentacles, and the Strength card. King of Swords is about, paying attention. Discernment is the word that I was looking for. And so he really looks into situations. I don't know. That's the thing that I feel like you need to pay attention to, Virgo. Normally I say the King of Swords like knowledge and wisdom and all this other stuff. I'm just getting more of that discernment energy this week for you. Like anything you're doing, anything you're looking into, kind of, it's almost like encouraging you to have a critical eye, to like really look at things, any opportunities that come your way, any people you meet. And again, I'm not saying you're being critical, but I think that you are just like looking deeply into the opportunities that are coming towards you and maybe being a little bit more patient, right, with those opportunities. Like I feel like you're saying yes to things, but it's like maybe you're saying it's like a cautious yes, not like in a bad way. I do feel good about this. I do feel Virgos usually have good discernment. Like you can probably pick up on things, maybe even intuitively, when you receive an opportunity, and you could be saying to yourself, like, okay, this feels good, or okay, this doesn't feel good. And I would really pay attention to like your discernment this week. You have the Page of Pentacles. Definitely could be a new person. So for those of you that are looking for love, I always look at the Page of Pentacles as like new communication or meeting a new person that you're talking to. So if you're looking for love, looks pretty good. You also have the King of Pentacles. I do like the King of Pentacles in love. Sometimes he can be a little bit boring, but usually not like in a bad way. King of Pentacles, people can be like a little bit more predictable, for example. But at the same time, King of Pentacles, people usually are there to invest. They actually want to be there. They actually want a relationship. They don't play games and all that other stuff. So, again, if you're attracting an earth sign or, even just a grounded person, that would be a good thing. You have the Strength card. You also have that Leo card that says Shine on it. So 2 cards that represent Leo energy. And, like I said, a lot of you could be working on standing out. And that is strength. That requires strength, of course. Because, again, we go from the Fool to the 6 of Wands here. When you stand out, that's when people come out of the woodwork to troll you and things like that, right? And this year is a little trolly, I would say, because we have Uranus and Gemini. The thing with Gemini energy is that it can bring out like jealousy, gossip, things like that. I've been telling everybody to ignore it. That's the best option. The other issue that I see with the astrology is all the energy in Aries. The thing with Saturn and Aries, I feel intuitively especially, is that if we try to defend ourselves, we just look guilty, right? So I think it's one of those years where we should just let things roll off our back, right? Not even engage. Don't feed into things, people calling you out or whatever BS they're coming up with. We are in a time of truth. So I tell everyone, it's like, it doesn't matter what people say about you right now, because it's like really the people that matter will see the truth. And so it really doesn't matter, basically. And I just, again, I think we can get into a negative cycle with Uranus and Gemini, Saturn and Aries. I think we can kind of get into that cycle where we start thinking everybody's against us and, all that other stuff. And it just isn't helpful, plain and simple. With the King of Swords, you have the 7 of Pentacles. 7 of Pentacles says, is the juice worth the squeeze? But he is analyzing those 7 Pentacles. Discernment. We were talking about this. He is really looking at the investment he's making. And he's saying, is it worth it or not? Right? So again, I think discernment is the key for you this week with the King of Swords. Just taking a quick little pause and looking at any opportunities that come your way or any new people you meet or whatever, just kind of like looking at it with a little bit more of a critical eye. I'm giving you permission to be critical this week, Virgo. With the Page of Pentacles, you have the 9 of Wands. A lot of 9 of Wands energy this week as well. We are coming off of a retrograde, so we probably shouldn't rush right into things this week. Having boundaries is probably a good idea. It's also my card of experimentation. So again, especially when Uranus enters into Gemini next month in April, I think it's going to be really important that we kind of do a lot of experimenting. I always say this is my card of throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, like trying a bunch of things and seeing what works. And so getting into that habit now could be a good option for you here, Virgo. With the Strength card, you have the Ace of Pentacles, which is pretty good. Strength with the Ace of Pentacles says you've been patient for an opportunity, and now that opportunity could be finally showing up. The other thing it would say is it would say that you are strong enough for the opportunity. So any new opportunities that come in for you this week, I would take them because you can handle it, even if you think you can't. Next, in the area of messages from your future self, you have this Wave of Emotions card. It says, a new experience will enter your life that will stir a wave of emotions within you. You have this Choose a Path. It says there are many paths before you, but you may only choose one. Lovers to the Two of Wands at the end. So, the Lovers, it's funny, we were talking about how the Lovers can represent a choice. And so I do feel that there is a path that you have to choose to go down, or something that you have to go on, like, a path that you have to go through or something, because we see a journey here. Again, we have the Fool to the World, so it's like there is a process that you are going to be working through this week. But again, like I said, to me, a reading that has the Fool to the World is like you doing a lot in a short period of time. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy. You have the Six of Wands, which we'll talk about in a second. Six of Wands is a great card, but it can definitely be a process. We'll talk about it right now. So you have the Six of Wands, the King of Pentacles, and the Ace of Pentacles. Six of Wands is great. It's a victory, an achievement, success, just like the world. But he has been through a battle. He's being celebrated, Virgo, because he is coming back from war. So he has been through something challenging, but he has won, right? And so sometimes I feel in a reading like this, where there's like a clear path, Fool to the World, it's like saying, like, it's not necessarily going to be easy, but it will be worth it, whatever it is that you're setting out to do this week. And I don't know, it feels like one of those weeks where you really could get a lot done and feel like super accomplished by the end. And again, one thing I will say to you is that this new moon in Pisces, which is your opposite sign, is going to be very good for you. I think that we just had Jupiter go direct in Cancer. Jupiter retrograde in Cancer slows things way down. I think it's like the hardest place for Jupiter to go retrograde is probably in Cancer. Maybe Capricorn's, I think even Capricorn isn't as bad. When Jupiter retrogrades, it's almost as if it's in the opposite sign. That's why it sucks. And when it retrogrades in Cancer, but when it retrogrades in Capricorn, it's like it's in Cancer, which is good. So, I think that, it's probably the hardest retrograde for Jupiter. It just went direct. We have Mercury retrograde, and then we have this new moon in Pisces, which is like the switch being flipped. Like we can finally start making progress. We can finally feel like we're starting to move forward. And then again, 2 days later, on the 20th, again, today is the 17th, tomorrow is the 18th when I publish this, so it'll be 2 days before the retrograde goes direct. We can really feel like we're making a lot of progress. So, again, it makes sense to me. You have the King of Pentacles. King of Pentacles, like stability, building wealth, which I do feel Virgos are going to be focused on for probably years to come, focusing on, building wealth with your skills. He has these grapes on his cloak. Grapes in the tarot represent something that's difficult to grow, but he can do it well. And so I feel that you are using your skills to build wealth. And, again, I think this is a good sign of the times for you, Virgo. And, I think you're getting into a period where things are more predictable. I feel like you are, it's like, just intuitively here, Fool to the World is really standing out to me, obviously, because I keep talking about it. But it's like, I feel like you are trying to get away from things where you are always chasing your tail. It's like, I don't really have any good examples for you, Virgo, as usual, because all I do all day is YouTube. But something I see on YouTube a lot is people like chase trends, right? Where they can duplicate a trend on social media, and it's like they'll get a lot of views, but it's like it's you're always having to do that when you're chasing a trend, you're to keep up, right? It's like that's what I feel like you're getting away from intuitively here, is like, especially if you have a job or a business where maybe you have to like do a certain thing that changes frequently, where you're like always having to update or always having to like feel like you're chasing your tail. I don't know, that's popping into my head for you with the King of Pentacles, is like you're done chasing your tail. I think you're looking, again, you're looking for more of a process. Maybe that's a good word to use, with this reading. And here you go. This could be the opportunity you've been waiting for here with the Ace of Pentacles, and it could be something that is more, maybe not simple, maybe more work, but just more predictable. I think it takes the pressure off, and, I think that is going to be a good thing for you. It's kind of like, again, not to talk about myself, but it's like this channel, I just do 4 videos every single day. That is my process. It really isn't that much work. It's like, an hour and 45 minutes or something like that, right? Maybe 2 hours some days, but it's like a process that I stick to. It leads to a predictable result. I'm not always stressing out about things that are going on. I'm not having to find new trends and like all this other stuff, right? Now I do that on other channels, but on this channel, I don't have to do it, right? And so I think that you could be getting an opportunity like that, which is great. Virgo, I forgot to say, make sure to leave a comment. Really helps me out. With the Six of Wands, you have the Two of Cups again. So we have it twice here in this reading. Two of Cups is love. So could be a perfect match coming in for you. Two of Cups is usually different than your usual type. So if you're looking for love, this could be a good thing. If you already have love, this is also really good. Sometimes I feel, and I kind of feel this right now, like I never say this, very rarely on the Two of Cups, that, I feel if you are in a relationship, this could be you like getting on common ground with your partner. So again, if you are in a connection, this, like, I'm not saying things have been bad, but if they have, this could be you fixing it. But things can always get better. So it's like, it could be just a good week where maybe you feel like you're reconnecting with the person you're with, or, maybe you feel like communication is better or something. With the King of Pentacles, you have the Seven of Wands, Seven of Wands, a card of conviction. It says when you know that something is for you, it's for you. Sometimes I feel in love that the Seven of Wands does say this is something you are going to want to protect. Now, the funny thing I said earlier is that this could be a relationship that gets a lot of attention for whatever reason. I don't know. I really felt that on the World card. So, it's like one of those things where, I think if you're putting your relationship out on social media and things like that, it's like you never know. I've heard stories over the years of like, just from people I've read for that have said like, I put my relationship out on social media and then people were messaging me about this person and like all this other stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, I kind of feel like this is saying, don't allow other people to turn this into a mess. It might be worth protecting. With the Ace of Pentacles, you have the Temperance card. Temperance is a lot of patience. We see a lot of patience in this reading because we have the, Strength card right next to it. So 2 patience cards with the 2 opportunity cards, the Ace of Pentacles twice. Like I said, I think this is the opportunity you've been waiting for here, Virgo. Next, in the area of the good stuff, you have this Not For You card and this Chop Wood card. Again, I think with the Eight of Cups, you are seeing what is not for you, and you are probably cleaning it up with that Chop Wood card or walking away. The Chop Wood card, I also feel, is just probably the new moon in Pisces. Again, that is definitely like a light switch for you, Virgo, of like feeling more productive. Again, even today, I am publishing it on the day of the moon, so today, you could feel like the light is coming on. It's like you're waking up, you're feeling more productive, or maybe you're wanting to be more productive. And again, don't worry if it doesn't happen on the 18th. It could be the 19th, the 20th, the 21st, the 22nd, the 23rd, this week, right? Or by the beginning of the week. So, you could feel that light switch turning on. You have the World, the Two of Cups, and the Two of Wands. The World is an accomplishment or an achievement, which I really like. Again, I love the World just in general, but, in the good stuff, it's even better. So, all your readings talk about you shining bright, and I feel now you have the opportunity to do so. You have the Two of Cups. Again, Two of Cups can start with communication. So if you are attracting love, this definitely could be something that starts with communication, or where you start communicating to a person and, that leads to a deeper connection or commitment. So if you're looking for love, this looks amazing. Next, you have the Two of Wands. Yeah, I would encourage you to stretch here, Virgo. I think I've said this to you before. If I were Virgo, I'm not a Virgo. I have 0 Virgo in my chart. And I am stretching, like pushing myself to that point where I'd normally quit on something and going just a little bit further. Again, I think just that little bit will make a big difference. And so don't be afraid of like pushing it, especially with things that you're working on or creating. With the World, you have the Nine of Pentacles. Again, wealth. She is gratitude and luxuries. She also represents heaven on earth, and we have the world. So I always say with the Nine of Pentacles that we don't just get heaven on earth. We have to create it. And again, I am begging people to do this right now because the world looks like a mess. And, again, long story short, the more we feed into that, the worse the world gets, right? I am a big believer that when we feed things with attention, that they get much, much worse. So we have Neptune and Aries right now. Neptune and Aries says, long story short, again, I could go on about this all day long. We have to save ourselves, right? So I think individually, the best thing we can do, and what I preach spiritually, is that we have to create heaven in our world, around us. The more we do this, the more people do it because they see us doing it. They want their lives to be better. The more that happens, the more of a positive snowball we create, and the more likely it is we can get out of this, right? With the Two of Cups, you have the Five of Swords. I do feel like this could be a little bit of a risk here. Two of Cups is like different. It's someone who is different than your usual type. So, you might feel like it's a little bit of a risk. But again, I would just take your time with that King of Swords. King of Swords, like, again, there's an old saying. When you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? And so the King of Swords says, yeah, you should be discerning. You should, and again, I gave you permission to be critical. But at the same time, it's like, don't create an issue that doesn't exist, right? I think we need to have balance here. But again, pay attention. With the Two of Wands, you have the Three of Swords. Again, everybody's had the Three of Swords this week, which makes sense because we're ending this retrograde. This specific retrograde, I think, has been asking us to definitely heal something and let go of something that's been holding us back. So, I think it's coming up in the good stuff. So you're probably healing. You have this Cup card. It says you should accept valid criticism. King of Swords energy, right? So sure, it's like if you're going to be critical, don't expect other people to not be critical, but at the same time, I think this is fine. You have this wall. It says misunderstandings. Again, we still are going to be in the Mercury retrograde shadow until the beginning of April. A lot of people have had this card over the last month, so it doesn't really surprise me. Again, Pisces is a confusing sign. The retrograde is in Pisces, so yeah, there's going to be misunderstandings. So again, you can try to be more clear with your communication and just also understand that if you don't understand something, you can get clarity. You have this older woman. It says dealings or relationships with an older woman. You have this key card. It says successful outcome to your problems. So again, there could be a person or like a mentor. King of Swords can represent a mentor or an expert that has an answer to a problem. So if you have any problems, going to an expert is a good idea. You have this ant. It says work, achievement, success. So there could be some form of success coming in for you here, Virgo, based off of your work, which looks great. You also have this happiness card, which is awesome. The Nine of Pentacles wants you to bring more happiness into your own life. But this looks really good, Virgo. I like it. So thank you for being here. Make sure to leave a comment, and definitely enjoy your week.